Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's do you some readings. Fahman is really contemplating it. जैसा कि वो judgment mode में भी है ना. And again, Queen of Cups. Do you see this? Queen of Cups भी है और Queen of Cups के पीछे एक Queen of Pentacles भी है. ठीक है? तो अब ये बहुत सोच रहा है कि कैसे लाइफ में बैलेंस आएगा. He really wants balance in his life, okay? He is really thinking about what should I do. जैसे कि लास्ट वाले वीडियो में मैंने पूरा डिटेल्स में आपको एक्सप्लेन किया है the whole judgment thing. He is trying to find his place in the whole matrix of daughter and father. Where is he fitting in? What is his place? If he has any respectable place or not? Where he's feeling totally lost in this whole matrix and dynamics also, because Sumbul has completely ignored him, and she's also feeling she's feeling some kind of guilt, and she needs to forgive herself because she is totally blaming herself for whatever has happened to the King of Wands, which is of course her father, which we have concluded from the reading. And this guy is also thinking about if whatever he has done with the King of Wands in that interview, was it the right thing for me to do? Because why am I even interfering in her life if she is being so, cheesy about it? Like, I did it for the highest good, and while I understand that initially she should have felt bad about it, but now she is like, she's totally ignoring me, and it doesn't appear to be that simple. It's like, it just feels that, maybe I just crossed my boundaries. I'm just explaining you what I explained in Hindi in the last video. So this is what it is. He's seriously contemplating judgment. Is this right? Is this right? What is right? What is really right for me in this whole matrix? I did this for her, and I do understand that initially she would certainly feel bad about it, because of course if you are telling something about somebody's parents, they are bound to feel bad about that. And initially he was fine with she being furious on this whole thing, but now this increasing distance and furiousness and resentment, also a hidden resentment, passive aggression, he is really considering that why did I do this? Was it worth really doing it? And how can I bring balance in my life? How can I bring balance in this whole situation? Judgment, especially judgment card in his reading of this week being clarified by King of Wands, is talking about this, that why the hell did I had to, or like, not why the hell, but more like, the way what I said in the interview, or if whatever I said in the interview or whatever I am doing, do I really need to do this? Do I really have the right to do this? Right? He's just considering his place in the whole thing. Yeah. And he wants some kind of clarity for himself, because he is in the judgment phase. Judgment is the second last card of tarot of a cycle. And he has been in this relation, seen all the beautiful things of this relationship, have seen the hardships of the relationship. He has stood with Sumbul through thicks and thins, had some great time, enjoyed some beautiful moments, and in between, something like that also happened where he had to go out. He supported Sumbul at various places, various instances, as you people say in Big Boss and all, and where he felt that and places, where he felt that it was not, he didn't support her, is what I understand, where he felt, where it was not coming from within, He stopped himself from supporting her when he was not aligned with, he didn't feel right about that within. So a lot of things happened in this relationship, ups, downs, happy moments, sad moments, stuff like that. But now he is mostly contemplating on the King of Wands, which is her father, like whatever he did, whatever he said on her father, was it the right thing for me to do? Who am I to say all these things? Right? So he is really considering a lot of things related with Queen of Cups, as we just saw here, right? Where did that card go? But anyways, you know that, right? So Queen of Cups. Here is the Queen. Okay, it's not there. So did you understand? This was basically, I was talking in the last video, and I did emphasize a lot on the ego self, because there was a question that Fahman should let go his ego and should approach her. And I was just clarifying, because it was a very innocent statement, but I did feel that probably, the person had not understood, or, kind of was mistaking the ego that showed up here with the regular ego, where we tell that, don't have a bloated ego. It's not your usual ego when we are talking in tarot and, things are connected with spirituality and the spirit. The ego that the spirit guides were talking in Fahman's this week guidance was not as much of the male ego, but the ego that encroaches on somebody's free will. Okay, I'll repeat and explain this. So in spirituality, there is something called, we all know there is something called free will, where we allow the person to make their own decisions, whether it is good for them, bad for them, we allow them to make their own decisions. And this is called free will. But ego tries to control this, because ego, being in a physical body, it likes boundaries, it likes to control things, it wants to control. It mostly tries to control things we are really attached to, okay? And we try to protect it. This is how ego works. And this guy in the ego in this case, where this person is, the spirit guides asked Fahman to surrender your ego, and it is not that male ego. Because very honestly, if it was just the male ego, when shooed away, will not turn back and come. Okay, male ego doesn't work like that. But this is an ego of attachment, where you don't want your loved one or person you are really attached to make any mistakes, that they go through difficult phase again. Because you are so attached, you know the weakness, you know the strength of that person, and you don't want that person to go through all the, pain. But trying to stop that person because you know more is also ego, because then you are stopping that person from taking their free will. Because as a soul incarnated, that person is, if that person listens, great. But if that person is not listening, the whole idea of you forcing that person, your opinion on that person, or becomes kind of an encroachment on their free will. Even though you are doing to protect that person, but ideally how it should happen, if they listen, great. But if they are in their own ego, then they will definitely not listen to your ego, because as I just explained in the last video, that when the ego of one person is talking to the ego of another person, that is the alpha ego of one person is talking with the alpha ego of the another person. The left hemisphere logical fight. This fight will never come to any conclusion, because both of them operating from their alpha ego self, left hemisphere of the brain, which is totally focused on ego and identity, they are fighting for the identity, they are fighting for the territory. And when it's the fight for the territory, it's fight for the survival. And when you are fighting for the survival of your identity, you either do or die. You don't give up. So two people fighting from their left brain, from ego self, will never give up. They will keep fighting. Just like how Ukraine and Russia, they are both fighting. 1.5 years into the war, do you even have an idea? Do we all have any idea when this war is going to stop? This war will never stop till all the, arms and ammunition of the world is over, because Ukraine is supported by the whole NATO, and Russia is very powerful anyways, has loads of arms and ammunitions and bombs. This fight is not coming to closure anytime soon, and that's why everybody is pinning their hopes on our great Prime Minister. Because why? Both of them are fighting for their territory. They will not budge. None of them is going to budge. So this exactly happens when you are operating from your ego self. You are fighting for your territory. You are fighting for the survival. And it's very simple to understand. Love and shove happens only when you survive. Maslow's theory of hierarchy. There is a theory of hierarchy which which describes one's need. You know, human beings need. And at the basic, you have roti kapra makan, you have your basic necessity. That is food, water, shelter. And this is your survival. You need food, you need water for surviving. And only when you survive, the belongingness comes, the love comes, self-actualization comes, and it goes on and forth. But basic pyramid, at the basic level of the pyramid, what is that occupies the space? Food and water and shelter, which is your survival instincts. Survival instinct has to be fulfilled, then only you move on to love and shove. So now you see the love between Sumbul and Fahman, why it has taken a back seat, because here it is the survival that they are fighting against. You know, their ego self, this ego self is fighting. However, Fahman still is not fighting from that ego self, because had it been the alpha ego, had it been Fahman's alpha ego fighting with Sumbul's alpha ego, then Fahman would have not turned back and looked. The very fact that even though he gets a cold shoulder from the girl, he keeps taking care of the girl, he takes decisions on the behalf of the girl, even at the risk of getting the brickbats from everybody. Of course, you're telling something against the father, I don't think anybody is stupid enough to not know that he will get all the brickbats, but still he is doing it. Why? Because he is here. This is how he explained, because this guy we have all known in his personality reading that this guy has gone through his own psychological trauma and emotional losses. This guy has been through the trouble. So being through the trouble, he is standing here now, and this Sumbul probably stands here. She has gone through her own shit, but nevertheless, she is standing here. This guy has a deep attachment with the girl, and he doesn't want her to go through, because he knows her weakness and strength, and she knows that eventually she will go into pain. And this guy is trying to save her. But even though you want to save her for her own good, and if she doesn't want to take your advice, she is not happy with your advice, the advice of this person, even if it is for her good, becomes encroachment on her free will in spirituality. And his advice becomes an ego. Because what happens, you from your own, from your ego self, from your attachment to that person, you are trying to tell what you have learned in your life, even though if it is for good for her. And this person will not listen, because this person is from ego self. And how should it really happen? What was the guidance given to Fahman in this case? Let go the idea that you can fix somebody, because you cannot fix somebody if the person is not ready to receive your guidance, wisdom, not change. You cannot give anything. If the cup is full, you cannot fill it with your wisdom. It's as simple as that. So therefore, spirit guides advised Fahman, don't surrender your ego that you can fix somebody. Okay, your ego, as in your attachment with this girl, is forcing you to give her advice which she doesn't want, because she is not empty. She already has her things going on, and you will not be able to fix her. So now you understand how it works. Even though he wants to do her good, because he can see how things will happen, maybe she will fall, she will hurt, and this guy doesn't want her to hurt, because it is his ego that is attached to her. Attachment, deep attachment, causing him hurt. So he tried to save her, but what he is not seeing is that he is encroaching on her free will. Because this soul, if this person is not very enlightened, or is more in their ego, in their own stuffs going around, they are not open to receiving your gyan or wisdom, no matter how much you care for that person. So you will have to let go, and you will have to allow this person to exercise their free will and make their own choices. And if this choice is good or bad, only time will decide. If it is not a very good choice, they will fall, they will get a little bit hurt, but then they will learn their lessons. And when we learn lessons by falling, we never forget that. You all know that, right? We all know that. Our parents always told us, don't go there, you will fall down. Don't go there, fall down. And we were like, no, we want to go. And what happened? We fell in the ditch. And then we know, okay, wahan pe nahi jana hai, there is a ditch over there. And then we never forgot that lesson. So when we fall and learn, we learn the lessons and never forget it. But when our parents keep telling her, don't go, we don't give a damn, right? The same thing happening here. So that was a lot of gyan like that. So I've explained you. Glad that I could explain, because I was really thinking, how am I going to make another video on English, but great that I could complete this in 15 minutes itself. And another thing, I think somebody questioned me, like, how do you know that in the last video it is Fahman that Fahman is thinking about Sumbul? Okay, so I did explain that person. That first of all, I told that, of course, see, I cannot explain you everything. In this case, anyways, the card fell, and so I told, but in most of the cases, I pick things intuitively. And while I cannot explain my intuitions to you, I don't have a proof of my intuitions. So I will not be able to prove my intuitions, and I don't want to go on that way where I have to be associated with people who are questioning my intuitions and all those things, because I don't want to encourage all that. So if you like the guidance, great. If you don't like the guidance, don't resonate with it, that too is great. Please listen to your intuition, because it will not be possible for me to come and explain every small little things which I am intuitively picking up. So while you can always understand the meaning of the cards, little bit of tarot everybody knows, you can understand positive, negative, but this is very basic thing, because you should understand that I am not just reading tarot cards from the meanings and the positioning. I am tapped into the source and I am reading from there as well. In fact, more of it there. So it's a bad idea to sit there and read the cards and then question the reader. If this is there, that is there, that is there, this is there, so this is how it should be, because then you are going totally into your left brain logic, and left brain logic wants logic. They don't listen to intuition. It's not your higher mind, right? So you cannot explain people coming from their ego self, because they will not understand. You will have to wait for the person to surrender, move into their higher mind, where they become open to receiving, and then they are open to receive your gyan. Otherwise, you can keep on fighting. It's the fight of the fittest. It is the fight for the survival. It is the fight for the territory, and it never comes to an end. Just like Ukraine and Russia war. So this is what I was explaining. So why did I tell that Sumbul is thinking about this guy? So after doing Sumbul's this week reading, when I was shuffling the card, these two cards, kind of fell like this. Now here you can clearly see that this King of Cups is thinking about her, right? And going by the energy of this week, that he is kind of seriously contemplating in that judgment mode, where he's really trying to find his place in the whole daughter father matrix. Like, why I had to do this? Who am I to do this? Who am I to give her advice? Was it worth giving her advice? Did I encroach on her rights? Am I getting in between the father and daughter? He's thinking a lot of things. He's doing some serious contemplation at the judgment level. So that is what it is. So that is why I told that this is Fahman thinking about Sumbul, because this card showed up in Sumbul's this week reading, and this card, if you have seen Fahman's weekly guidance, showed up in Fahman's weekly guidance. So Sumbul weekly guidance, Fahman weekly guidance, this card falling like this in between both the readings told me that this guy is thinking about her, who is not thinking about him, but she is thinking about the King of Wands, who was clarified by self-forgiveness. That is, whatever this guy did to King of Wands in the interview, she is not forgetting that, and she is blaming herself for that. Like, it ultimately it is because of me that whatever happened to her father, it happened because of her. She is blaming like that. And probably this guy is getting that she is blaming herself, and that's why he is also kind of recontemplating the whole thing, that what is the point? After all, what was the point of doing all these things? He did all these things to help her. He took this decision of going, expressing these things. I'm sure anybody knows, if you're telling anything about their parents, it will have some consequence. But consequence to this extent, where the whole relationship dynamics has changed, well, he didn't expected this. And that's why this week he is in a total contemplation mode. At this 20th step, he is looking back at the whole thing and wondering, how are things happening? Why this? Why that? Where do I fit in the whole matrix dynamics? What should I do this? How should I clean this? Because you know what? He's hanging at the last step, and he needs to, and he is just before the completion, the world card, and he feels the need to complete this, because this has been hanging on for a long time now, and he wants some kind of closure. Okay? So this is what it is. And this girl looks very disinterested in this person, and this person, by the way, quite on the contrary, is looking at her with a lot of anticipation and more like, you know, what the hell I did. I mean, I was just trying to help you, but I know it all backfired, but what am I supposed to do now? So this is the whole idea, right? So do you understand that, right? So this is what it is. So the guy is doing some serious contemplation. He wants some conclusions in his life. Not really happy with being involved in this, you know, father-daughter matrix anymore. And he wants to probably, you know, get on, wants some kind of conclusion in this whole pachra and wants to move on. So that is the guidance for him. So good, I could complete the English translation as well. This Hindi in English becomes way too, you know, demanding of me, my time and energy, and I'm not sure how long I'll be able to do it. But okay, as far as I do, okay. If I'm not able to do, I will surely let you know that as well. So let's get on with Megha and the other girls reading. I'll close this video now because it's already stretching beyond 20.